Hey, this is Casey. I am One Mellow Marigold. Let's go fire up the Compost Tea Brewer. Hi, how are you? I hope you're doing well. Right behind me is my Compost Tea Brewer. I built her before the last growing season last year, and I love it. I am addicted. My garden loves it. My plants love it. And this year I changed it up a little bit, and I actually have it hooked up to my sump pump. So instead of waiting for my water barrels to overflow and filling it that way, I'm filling it with groundwater. Wicked. So I'm going to turn cameras around and I'm going to show you a little bit about how I built it. I will give you links to Oregon State University's directions for how to build this particular model. I'm going to show you the tea bags, everything that I put into it, the air pump, how I hooked that up, and what I do with it when it's all done. So hope you enjoy. As for the build itself, I am going to include the links and the instructions. I followed the instructions posted by Oregon State University. I loved it. They were super simple, easy to follow. I am not overly mechanically inclined and I could sort of figure things out. They give you an actual list of all the supplies you need. And if you're somebody who is not familiar with a plumbing section of a hardware store, which is where you're going to get a lot of this materials, I highly recommend shopping online. Just shop online, go to the website, put in exactly the measurements of what the instructions say you need, and have them go pick it all out, and you just pick it up at the front door. So there you go. All right, so we have our big ol' outdoor garbage can. That's first. I happen to have one laying around. I think they maybe cost 20-30 bucks. The inside mechanics are all PVC pipe and connectors. So the instructions are going to tell you which lengths of pipe to cut. They're going to tell you what connectors that you need in the bottom. The instructions are going to have you drill holes into that bottom octagon of PVC. So you're also going to need a drill and a small drill bit. Once you have all of your PVC pieces ready to put together, you can glue them. So you can use like PVC sealant or like a silicone sealant in between all of the connectors. I didn't, and they seem to be working just fine. I actually kind of like it because if I need to, I can pull everything apart. I can fix a piece fairly easily. So that's just me. First of all, let's talk about the setup. Some of you may not live in an area where a sump pump is even needed. I am in zone 5B, and here we have basements, and we want to make sure those basements don't flood. And so you need a sump pump to measure the groundwater. And if the groundwater gets high enough that it could potentially flood your basement, a pump kicks on to kick it out. And people will either shuttle it out the front yard or the backyard. Some people build rain gardens with it, which is a really cool idea. I decided to let it pump right up into my rain barrel. So I have another way of water collection, and we're saving it from our overloading our sewer systems. Next, we need to put together our tea bag. So I am using, this is just a produce bag, like a reusable produce bag. Works great. Just make sure it has a little bit of the string left. You don't have to use one of these. You can use like a delicates bag or a net bag. I just happen to like this because like the mesh is fine enough that it sort of holds all the materials in pretty well. So get yourself a bag. Doesn't have to be pretty. Next, you're going to get your compost. Now, if you don't make your own compost currently, that's quite okay. You can go and buy compost from your nursery. There are many compost tea recipes that you can find online. I do not use a particular recipe, so to speak. I'm not that fancy. I just use my compost, and I use whatever worm compost I might have at the moment, and then I use compost from my back bin. Okay, so here are my materials. This is compost that I just took out of my compost bin from the way very bottom, so it's been sitting in there good for some good long time. And then I've got a few scoops of worm poop from my worm bin. And again, if you don't have worm poop and you really want to put that in there, you can go buy some. Same with the compost. I also have just like a teeny weeny bit of kelp meal left in a bag, so I'm going to throw that in there too. Some people also use like fish emollient and, oh, what else? Chicken poop, I think some people use too. So just different ideas. And again, you can look all over the place for specific recipes if that's really what you need. Okay, we're just going to dump the whole thing of compost in the bag. Gonna scoop the worm poop right into the bag. And finally, just gonna add whatever little bit of kelp meal here is left. There we go. We've made our tea bag. Okay, so we have a full brewer bin. We have got a full tea bag. We have got our air source and our power source. The last thing I'm going to do before we hook all this up, I'm actually going to take out the sump pump hose because we're going to let this brew overnight. We're going to let it brew for 24 hours. So I don't want the pump to continuously keep flooding and then potentially like over flooding the bucket. So I'm just taking it out for now. Going to take our tea bag, dip it in the water, cinch up the top, and we're just going to tie it around. Just ripped the cord. Let's try that again. Whoops! I'm gonna go get some twine. Twine instead. Okay, we're ready to go. Let's plug it in. Okay, we got our tea bag in there. You can see the water's already getting kind of cloudy with the compost, and we just got to add a little bit of power and get her going. There she goes. Easy, easy peasy. Yep. Okay, so Oliver is really into the Frisbee today. What day is he not? So I will probably be checking the Frisbee while we're talking. But I want to talk a little bit about aerated compost tea versus non-aerated compost tea and why I aerate. So You can brew compost tea with or without oxygen. The way that I'm doing it is with oxygen. We're pumping it in, we're making it bubble. When you brew the tea with oxygen, you are keeping all the beneficial microbes in the compost and in that worm poop. You're keeping all of that alive, and you're allowing it to expand and leach out into the water. So you're actually making a living compost tea. That's super beneficial for foliar application. So it's going to help keep pests away from your foliage and the leaves of your plants. It's also going to drip back down into the soil, and those microbes are going to help further break down all the good nutrients to make it easier for your plants to sort of suck them up. So I aerate because while it's a chugging along, it's making billions of other little colonies of microbes. It's spreading throughout that water, and when I eventually spray it on my plants, it's going to be a perfect all-in-one living spray. That doesn't mean you can't do it anaerobically, which is without air. You will see lots of growers who might just get a really big old bucket, and they might stick their compost tea bag in the bucket, and they just may come around and agitate it every now and again, and maybe let it sit out for a day or a couple of days. That's perfectly okay too, and I will never discourage anybody from doing what they want to do, because I think there's a million ways to grow and garden. We all get to learn from each other. That's just not how I do it, because my understanding is it's really the microbes and the oxygen that make the compost tea really beneficial. So do with that what you will. This is my way. It's not everybody's way. Second, let's talk about where you can use compost tea. Oliver's got the frisbee. Hang on. Go, buddy, go. Okay. How are you going to use it? On everything. Literally on everything. This is a really mild fertilizer. You can put it on leaves, you can put it on stems, you can put it on flowers, you can put it in the ground. You can use it in all the places. It's not going to damage any plants. It's not going to damage or cause any illness to your animals. So go forth and spray. What I make out of this compost tea brewer is not nearly enough to water my whole garden at this point. So what I do is I focus on the plants and vegetables that I know are going to benefit from it most, and the ones that I really want to do the best. So for example, I've got some heavy feeders in the garden. Sweet corn is a super heavy feeder, sunflowers are heavy feeders, tomatoes are heavy feeders, watermelon are heavy feeders. They grow big, huge, beautiful fruit and vegetables. They need a lot of big energy. And I really want those big fruits and vegetables. I don't want them to end up small. I don't want them to end up with disease and all that kind of good stuff. So generally when I apply the compost tea, I'm going to put it towards the vegetables that need it the most first, and then I will go about watering the rest of my garden with it. Again, that's just me. And what I'm sort of hoping is, now that I'm hooking this up to my sump pump and not my water barrel, I think it's going to fill up a lot more often, and so maybe now I will actually be able to water more of my garden in a quicker succession than I was before. Okay, day 2. It has been running for about 24 hours. As you can see, it's still bubbling. I'm going to unplug it. You may also be able to see that my tea bag did fall into the bin at some point overnight. Doesn't matter. We're not worried about it. Not a big deal. So let's get it turned off and we'll get our water jugs filled up. Okay, there we go. You can tell that the tea is dark brown in water. It looks like muddy water basically. So I'm going to be filling up my 2-gallon sprayer jug today. I use this versus the watering can when I want to be able to like spread it over a larger swath of area, especially when I'm spraying foliage and things like that. I might use my watering can more when I'm really looking to deep water, and then I would just sort of apply the tea at the roots. But first, I'm going to get my tea bag out. there's the used tea bag. This is actually just going to get dumped right back in my compost bin in the back. And then once I have my empty tea bag, I just throw it on the driveway, get out my sprayer hose, spray that sucker clean and let it dry in the air, and that's it. That's it. Nothing fancy. So let's fill our buckets. Some people will actually drill and attach a spigot to their compost tea brewers so that you could potentially just come here and fill it up. I haven't, because partially I'm lazy, partially I don't really need to, because generally this will not feed everything that I have in my garden, so I'm going to empty this and use it right away anyway. But just a tip, for if that's convenient for how you have your setup, you can always put a spigot on, but this works just as well too. Yeah, it's a little poop water on my hands. We don't care. We're gardeners. We're cool. Okay, let's get watering. So that's it. There you go. Compost tea. Easy peasy. I knew it might seem like kind of an overwhelming project, and to be honest, it was for me at first too, until I started just getting into it and doing things step by step. But seriously, once you build it, it's built. There you go. Off and running. I'm going to continue to water as much of my garden as I can. I focus on the heavy hitters first, so the corn, the sunflowers, the tomatoes, the peppers, the cabbages, and then with whatever I have left, I do the rest of the yard. And when the barrel is empty, sometimes I do like turn it over to tip it out, to empty out the last little bits, but when it's mostly empty, I just hook up the sump pump hose again, let it fill, and next time it's full, I do it all over again, and that's it. Okay. That's it for me. Easy, helpful, cool project you can do on your own. Lots of people have different ways of doing compost tea. So if you've got a totally different idea, totally different plan, I would love to hear about it. Throw it in the comments below or tag me in your video. And as always, if you want to keep seeing more videos like this, the best way to help me out is to hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell next to it, ding-a-ling-a-ling, so you know when new content has posted. That's it. I love you guys. I hope you have a great day. Happy growing.